Hope we don't have too much background noise here. So just to recap very briefly from last time, that we said that the roots, so to say, of the problem of the belief of Umot haOlam, of the non-Jewish nations, is that they view creation exclusively as Ila ve'olul, cause and effect. And because of that, they're very limited to how they believe in Hashem. And ultimately, they believe that he is the boss of the bosses, the big CEO, the king of all kings. And as the Gemara uses the terminology, Elokad Elokaya, that he is the God of all gods. So they believe in other deities and so forth, and they actually say that it would be disrespectful to think that Hashem is involved in every detail. He just set everything in motion and started the whole thing, and so forth. That's a brief synopsis. Okay, so now we're going to continue. The next piece is the third piece here. So we're on page Tuf Kuf Yud 510, bottom half of the page. And as you could see at the end on the next page in the parentheses, what we're going to learn now is taken from Derech Mitzvaysecha, the Tzemach Tzedek's book, where he explains Al Pi Chasidus many of the mitzvahs out of the 613, because most of the information that we're learning is taken from his many, many volumes of Or HaTorah. But in this case, we are going to be learning something from Derech Mitzvaysecha. Okay. So let us begin inside, as always. You got the place?
Hi, Mommy.
Okay. Yes. Yuvan ma she'amar Paroi. We will understand that which King Pharaoh, Paroi, said. Lo yodati es havaya. And that is from Shmois, the book of Exodus, Beis, chapter 5, verse 2. So when Moshe came in the name of Hashem and told Paroi, let my people go. And he said that I was sent here by Hashem, and he used the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. He says he sent me. And Paroi tells him, I have never known es havaya. Lo yadaiti es havaya. And now we're going to go into very specific detail, and we're going to make a diuk in the fact that he used that name. And Paroi was very precise, or at least the way the Torah is recording it, that he says, I did not know or recognize Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Moshe Rabbeinu Olav haOlam. That's that long acronym over there. Moshe Rabbeinu Olav haOlam. See, the Reish and the Beis, it throws you off, because usually in an acronym, it's the first letter of each word, but sometimes it'll be 2 or even 3 letters of a word. So here it's Vav Mem Moshe, and then Reish Beis Rabbeinu. So, and Moshe Rabbeinu of blessed memory. Omar Loi said to Paroi, Shem Havaya. He specifically used the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei when he's speaking to Paroi. And he says, V'yodu Mitzrayim, and Egypt will know, when I'm done with you guys, they will know, Ki Ani Havaya, that I am Havaya, speaking in as a spokesman for Hashem. And that is in Shmois Yudalid Dalid, in Exodus chapter 14, verse 4. And now we're going to explain. Kihine. Paroi lo yehamin bazeh. Paroi did not believe asher nemar ani Hashem leishanisi. That which we find a later verse that says, I am Hashem and I have not changed. All right, we mentioned that pasuk last time, that's really something that the Umot haOlam don't relate to, because by definition we said if it's cause and effect, so then the creator is affected by the creation, by the product. So to say that I am exactly the same and that it doesn't make any change in me is something which Paroi could not relate to. K'moi to say that just as koidem brias haOlamois, before the creation of the worlds, so to say that he's exactly the same as before created, how can you say that? The artist that made the beautiful piece of art is not the same before as he is after. The musician who composed a beautiful piece of music is not the same before and after. So how can we say about the creator that he's exactly the same before and after creation? Lefi, because shehahamshacha, for the drawing down, rak al yedei he'ara, it's only through a ray of light of his. It's not that he himself is the one that's actively, so to say, creating. Of course, he's the only one, but he's using, metaphorically, a ray, like the ray of the sun. V'kanal stands for v'dekanizkar le'el, and as mentioned above. Ad shehu, to the extent that the truth is that he is, ad shehu, that he is, b'chinas kadosh umuvdal. He is actually separated. The word kadosh, which is, of course, a common word, and it's commonly translated as holy or sacred. But what does that mean? I don't know English well enough to know the origin of how word, Latin or wherever it came from. But the real literal translation, and the deeper translation, I should say, of kadosh, as the Alter Rebbe says already in Tanya, is separated. And you can have a few examples for that in the Torah itself. Usually, it means in a positive way. It means it's above normal, above nature. So we say something is sacred and holy, so we use kadosh. But in the Torah, it's actually used also in a negative sense. For example, the harlot is called a kedesha, or the male who is designated for prostitution is called a kadesh. So we do find its exact same word, but that's very unusual that it's used in that fashion. But that just goes to show us that the word itself means, usually in the positive, means separate, removed from, above and beyond. So the truth is that Hashem is kadosh umuvdal, that he is separate. Af al pi, and here comes the paradox, even though shemehave, that he is causing to exist, umechaye, and giving the vitality, me'ayin liyesh, from non-existence, from nothingness to being an existence. So this is a very difficult thing to understand, and that's why we're saying that a normal, intelligent human being can't really get it. And that is that on the one hand, we're saying that he does not change, and it's not him himself who is creating, although creation can only be by the very essence of God himself. So we're saying it's a ray from him that is creating something from nothingness, but he still remains untouched. He remains removed from this. So that's a very difficult thing to understand, and that's why Paroi couldn't get it, because it doesn't really make sense. Ella, rather, Haya Savur, Paroi mistakenly thought. Haya Savur, he thought. Shehabriya, that the creation, who b'derech hishtalshelus ila ve'alul, is by way of this down chain, this spiritual, so to say, evolution of cause and effect, like we said in the previous, class, in the previous piece. V'lachein ksiv, and therefore it is written in Tilim, Kuf Yud Gimel Dalid. It says in Book of Tehillim, chapter 113, verse 4. It says as follows: Ram al kol chuli havaya, that exalted above all, etc. And the word that we're skipping is nations, Ramal Kol Goyim, Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei. So the attitude of the Paroi and of all the nations of the world is, like this verse says, that Hashem is above all. Meaning, to Karulei, they refer to him, they call him Elokah de Elokaya, or Elokah de Elokah, that he is the God of gods. Dehainu, meaning to say, Sheledaitam, their opinion, in their view, Shem Havaya, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, who bivchinas roimimus, is in a way of being exalted up above. She'ein mikablim, that they do not receive, and this is what they view as all of creation. Chiyusam, their vitality, their life. Misham, from there. In other words, they say Yud Kei Vav Kei is not what makes us tick. That's not our life force. Ki'im, rather, Mishem Elokim. It's the name of Elokim, which is our life. That's the spiritual source of our life. Shehu, which that level of godliness referred to by the name Elokim, is Achar Ribu Hishtal Shalus Ilav Alul Ledaitam. It's after a tremendous amount of this down chain of cause and effect, in their opinion. In other words, just like the very first verse in the whole Torah, introducing creation, it says Bereshis bara, and then it says Elokim. Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei is only introduced a little bit later, and even there it's together with Elokim. But initially, the way it's written in the Torah is that the Creator is Elokim. So the nations of the world, they view it that we get our life. The one that's giving us our existence and our life is Elokim. And Hashem, in the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, is too high. It's beyond creation, beyond nature, beyond being our life force. Following? Okay. Lachein oimrim, therefore, they say, She'achar beroi Elokim, that after Elokim has created Eis Hashamayim ve'Eis Haaretz, the heavens and the earth. As at that point, once he made it, once he created, then Ikar HaHashpa'a, the main primary flow of life and energy, Hashpa'a, is Mishem Elokim, comes from the name Elokim and not a higher name than that. V'chach, and so Ra'ui is fit, L'daitam, in their opinion, Sheyihyeh Shem Havaya Bivchinas Reimemus. And for that very reason, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei should be exalted. Like, so to say, push it away, push it up. Don't reduce Yud Kei Vav Kei to being creator and involved in creation. That's disrespectful. That's not proper. That's a degrade. For that which is in a way of the down chain, ilav alul, by means of cause and effect, v'ha'ila mislabesh ba'alul, and as in every case of cause and effect, the cause is enclosed in the effect. And therefore, they both, the cause and the effect, both receive change one from the other. Obviously, the effect is changed because it comes into existence thanks to the cause. But also, in return, that which is causing it is also receiving a change. Like we said, the artist, the musician, the inventor, whatever it may be, the shoemaker, the scientist, the plumber, whoever it is receiving from that which they have made, which they have accomplished. Lachain, therefore, Omar, he said, Paray said, Eich efshar, how is it possible? Sheyihiyeh Shame, the shin stands for shame. Shame Havaya. How could it be that the name, the tetragrammaton name of Yud K Vav K, Shehu Ha'ila Harishain, which is the first cause. So they recognize that that is the first cause. That's where it all starts. Mislabesh Kol Kach Lamata, but how can he be so enclosed all the way down? This will make a tremendous change in him. And then, paraphrasing from one of the prayers of the high holidays, Utehor Einayim, and the one of pure eyes, Meir'ois Bera, from seeing evil. In other words, the finished product that Hashem made includes evil. However you want to get into that, that's a whole different discussion. And did he actually create evil for the sake of evil? How was it introduced? How to get mixed in? But the point is, he's the creator, and now there exists evil. So to say about him that he is involved or he's in the evil would be very degrading. And as it says, Taharinaim, the one of the holy and pure eyes, the absolute pure eyes, would not see evil. So on that level number one of Yud Kei Vav Kei, he can't look at evil. He has nothing to do, no association with evil. Lachain, therefore, it would be proper, in their opinion, Sheshem Havaya, that this name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hu Bechinas Roimemus, is to be exalted. It's out of respect and reverence to Hashem that they're doing this. They don't want to reduce him and degrade him. And therefore, Bli Hashkacha Pratis. And that would clearly lead to the philosophy that there is no Hashkacha Pratis. There is no specific, particular supervision and guidance of Hashem himself in every detail, because that would mean that Havaya comes all the way down, and they don't want that because that's not respectful.
These two don't match. What's this?
The Ikar, top of the next page. Hashpa'a lemata, and the main flow of godly energy coming down into the mata, into the one down, us, this world. Al yedei ho'alulim hatachtoinim, through the lower effects in this chain of ishtalshalus. So down here, all of the effects that each one is being affected by its cause, Shem Kol Tzva Shamayim, which is actually all of the hosts of heaven. So we're talking over here in our world, or in the physical. So we have stars, we have planets, we have constellations. All those things are effects from the higher spiritual. V'lachein, and therefore, hayu oivdei kochavim u'mazolos. For that very reason, logically, they worshipped, they served stars and constellations. Leha'alois man la'ayin sarim, to elevate the man to the 70 ministering angels. And let me explain a little bit. Okay, man, first of all, is an acronym for Mayin Nukvin, which is Aramaic for feminine waters. So there's two things. There's Mad, Maim Duchurin, the masculine waters, and there is Man, the feminine waters. Basically, to simplify it, there is the cause, or the mashpia, the giver, which would be the male aspect, and then there's the recipient, and that would be the female. And just as physically in creation, with the birds and the bees, so you have the male who gives the initial seed, and then there's the female when there's conception, and then it grows and so forth. So too, let's say, today is the 15th of Shvat, Rosh Hashanah for trees tonight. So when you plant a seed in the ground, so the earth is the female aspect. The earth is the recipient. So then it grows. So what we want to do is we want to have an arousal of man, which is the female, and that should then elicit the arousal of mad, of the masculine, so that the godly energy of above should start flowing down and giving us. Now, in this down chain of creation, so we know there's 70 nations. Well, the reason there's 70 nations down here is because there are 70 ministering angels, Sarim, and each one of them is in charge of, or is the spiritual force of an entire nation. Like we know that when Yaakov Avinu was wrestling, it was with Esav's Malach. So that's one of the 70 nations, or one of the 70 ministering angels. So therefore, the nations of the world... No! Sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. Therefore, it's going to rip. Therefore, the nations of the world would worship these stars and constellations because they want to elicit from the 70 spiritual ministering angels, which is their source of light, of life. Bichtei, in order, shal yedei zeh, by doing so, yamshich shefa haOlam hazeh, that will draw down this spiritual flow into this world. So it kind of makes sense. It's pretty scary because we're explaining the logic of idolatry.
That's how powerful Pharaoh was. Okay.
Yeah. V'zeu shekasuv, or v'zeu she'amar, and this is what is written in the Torah, or this is what Paroi said.
Oh, yeah.
Paroi said, Lo yodaiti es havaya. I did not recognize Yud Kei Vav Kei, Ki'im, rather, Shem Elikim. I know about Shem Elikim. I worship that. I have to do with that name. Asher hu makar lateva. And that is the source for nature, which is true. In other words, Bereshis bar Elikim. In the beginning, Elikim created. So the natural world that we have is coming from Shem Elikim. So I live in this natural world. So therefore, I can relate to Hashem with the name Elikim. Now, what happened? Val Yedei HaMakos, and through the plagues, V'nisim and miracles, V'niflois and wonders, Shalamayla Miteva, which is, they're higher. All of those wonders and miracles are above nature, Hamazalois, of the constellations, Utzva Shamayim, and the hosts of heaven. So yes, it's true, there's Elikim. But then there is Havaya. And Havaya, that name, is beyond the laws of nature. So Moshe Rabbeinu came into Mitzrayim, and he comes to this Paroi who does not recognize anything beyond Elikim, and he brings about all of these plagues and these miracles and wonders. Then, this is what Moshe says, v'yodu Mitzrayim, Egypt will recognize Ki ani Havaya, that I in fact am Havaya. That's what he told Paro is going to happen. You'll see, I'm going to introduce you. You say you don't know Havaya? Well, let me introduce you to Havaya. Sheshem Havaya Mamish, what he's teaching him, what he revealed to them is that it's literally the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, Meir Lemata Gam Kain, does shine down here as well. Don't push it away. Don't think that's a degrade. Dafka specifically. K'moy Lemaila, exactly as he is above. He's beyond time, beyond space, beyond nature, beyond anything, beyond. And therefore, he is the same above and below with no change. Umimenu, and from him, hakoil, everything comes from him, from Yud Kei Vav Kei. hateva, the nature, the shelemala me'ateva, and that which is beyond nature. Equally, for him, there's no difference, nature and beyond nature. V'hainu, and this is meaning mishum, because ki ani havaya loy shonisi klal. I am havaya, and I don't change. I didn't change at all. Now, the word, this is a pasuk, but the Tzemach Tzedek is adding the word klal over here, at all. That's not part of the pasuk. He just wants to emphasize and tell you that when the pasuk says, I, havaya, haven't changed, he means literally haven't changed at all. Don't tell me it's a relative not changing, but, no, there's no but. I have not changed at all. Me'achar, since, shebe'emes, that in truth, af alpi, although, on the one hand, shemashpia, that he influences, he brings down the flow, hachayus, of life, umehave, and he creates, he's causing to be. So on the one hand, he's doing that. Mikol makom, nonetheless, mehusoi ve'atzmusoi, his very essence, his true essence being, Ukadosh umuvdal, is in fact separated mikol haOlam, from all the worlds. So even though he is the creator of every detail, of the lowest of the low, yet he does not get affected by it, and he's completely separated from it, even while he is involved in being the creator. The ein hahamshacha klal al derech ilav alul, and this coming down of energy and of life, of godliness, is not at all through cause and effect. To the extent, because then there would be a change if it was in a way of cause and effect. Im kain, if so, mala umata, above and below, shavin, are absolutely equal. No difference. Atzilus im asiya gashmius. The world of Atzilus, which is beyond. It's even higher than Bria. It's before we even talk, we don't even call it creation. That world of emanation and this physical world, as physical as can be, are absolutely equal. No difference. Or as it says in the pasuk, kachashecha ha'oira, like darkness, like light. There's no such thing as darkness for him, just as there's no such thing as light. So if he is bright and radiant, so too he is in the dark. No difference. Uchmoi, and as shehashkachasoi lemaila, just as his hashgacha is in the high worlds, which that perhaps the nations of the world would accept, just as his hashgacha, his divine personal providence, exists in the higher worlds, kach lemata mamish, so too with no difference, exactly the same is in the lowest of the low, in the low worlds, in this physical world. Ein shum davar gadol v'katan. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, big or small, sheyaseh, that will do or happen, chutz mimenu yisparich, outside of him. There is no domain outside of him. Uchema'amar, and like the statement made in the Talmud, Ein adam noikeif etzba'i chuli. A person does not stub their finger or their toe or anything, etc. And etc. is without it being decreed from above. So even the tiniest thing of a person just banging their toe, and that's in Tractate Chulin, Zion Beis, 7b. Or as it says in the book of Proverbs, She'oil v'avodain neged Hashem chuli, that the lowest of the low, or these are terms for what they refer to in English as, whoever you pronounce it, purgatory or Hell. So they are right by Hashem. Don't think that that's the domain of the Satan and that's against Hashem. No such thing. Mishlei Tesvav Yud Aleph, that is the book of Proverbs 15, verse 11. V'hakoil kasher lakoil, and all in all, Ein poyel shum shinui klal. Nothing makes a difference in him. Nothing changes him in any way, shape, or form. And that's kind of paradoxical. So it's really a matter of emunah. It's very difficult, if at all possible, to understand. So that's from Derech Mitzvah, page 226. And then he also tells us to look in the Tzemach Tzedek's explanations to the Zohar. So,
Excellent.
okay, so there's a lot of repetition here because we're taking it from different places that the Tzemach Tzedek is saying, pretty much the same thing. But obviously, each time it's, in a little bit different words and whatever, and that, gives a little bit more emphasis and clarity.
All right, that's good. I like that. Yeah, that's
So 1 second. Q26. Oh, Derech Mitzvah 226. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
so what is the acronym DRAMATS?
Derech Mitzvah.
Oh, that's what that. Okay.
Again, it's very tricky because it's the Dalet Reish are the first two letters of the first word. And then it's next two letters because if you would write Dalet Mem, just the first letter of each of the two words, it's too confusing. Dalet Mem is too general. So it's Dalet Reish and then Mem Tzadik.
Okay.
All right. Plenty of time for your next class.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rabbi Turen.
Sure. Pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure.
Okay. I'll see you, Mitzvah.